Hello and welcome to DealerCast 2.0, brought to you by CGC Media and exclusively sponsored by PSX Digital, a Moto X company. If you want to consume more brews or for more information, go to psxdigital.com. Let's get this conversation started. Let's brew! What's going on, car guys and car gals? It's Lou Ramirez, the car guy.
It's Fred Lenart's Prime Hero.
And we are excited to be brewing solutions with you on this DealerCast 2.0 episode with the one, the only Larry
Bruce.
Here we go again with the one,
The only Jeff
Lou.
That's right. Let's go.
Awesome rhyming names. We love it. It works out really good.
Oh my God, that never dawned on me. I can't even believe you brought that up. Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude, that's what it
Oh
is.
my God.
And it's pretty awesome.
Meant to
See that. I love this.
Man.
But welcome to the show, everybody. We are excited. If you're watching this right now on the live, do us a favor, help us out, and tag a car guy.
Tag a car gal.
And share.
Let's get this out there. Let's make sure that people know that we have something great for you folks. This is DealerCast 2.0, episode already number 4. Folks,
Man,
we are
we are
moving
into it.
along and we are getting you some great information. And today we are bringing you even more information. We don't just have one, just 2, not 3. We have 4 amazing people on the show today that we're going to talk about some great stuff and something that I know each one of you all out there need a little help with. No matter how good you are, the room for improvement is vast amongst all of us. And we're talking about sales culture. We're going to talk about that today. And if folks stay tuned for this, we're going to have some great information. Make sure you get some people in here, sales managers, owners, salespeople. Come on, let's get in here.
Yeah, for sure. So it's funny. It's funny you brought that. We start this today because I was thinking about that over the weekend. What is a sales culture? And it seems like sales culture really in the dealership today is one of 2 things. The sales culture, when I started in the business, and I'm not going to say what year that was, because rest assured, it was a long time ago, a long time ago. But, the sales culture then was pretty much, what I was introduced to was from a guy named Clint McGee. Old school car trainer, great guy. Him and Jackie B. Cooper do not get enough. They don't get enough recognition in this industry, I don't think, but in any vehicle and sales industry. But I was taught, pay your dealer back. This is your own little business within your own little business. You don't have, your dealer supplies you a telephone, they supply you an office, they supply you a desk, they supply you customers to talk to. You need to pay him back and run your business tight and make sure that you get them the return on the dealer, the return on investment he's looking for to have you as a salesperson. And that carried on for a long time. And I think in the day of the professional salesperson, that culture dominated. That was the culture, right? You had a bunch of guys who were running their own little business on the floor. But over the years, particularly when you started to transition from the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, that started to change in that we weren't getting as professional salespeople. Most of the people that I talked to didn't look at a car sales or a vehicle sales role as a career. It was basically a stepping stone to their next career, whatever that was, or their career, whatever that was. And you started to see, I think about this time is when I started hearing the first rumblings, or the first time I'd ever heard the sales manager called a desk man.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I think that was when I heard, about early mid-90s when I started to hear this is the desk guy. And the desk guy he's now the culture. He's now starting this process of, the process doesn't start. I mean, for me, I would literally sit down with the customer, talk to the customer about the price. I was taught to write up the buyer's order, write MSRP on it, spin it around and ask him to sign it. We didn't go to the desk first. The first pencil came from me. And so I would spin it around and ask this customer to sign it. And then if I couldn't get anywhere, then I would go to the sales manager. And that flipped about 94 or 95, where now it's the salesperson sitting the customer down, going to the desk, getting the pencil, and then bringing it back to the customer. Here's what we can offer you. And I think that's the first time the culture shift started to happen. And I would really more call this a culture split. Because you had salespeople at that time who were used to doing it the way I did. And we're working as a student of the business, as professionals, car and vehicle salespeople. Automotive doesn't matter. And then you had these other group of people that were looking at this as a step. They had to be, so you couldn't leave it to them to start the deal, because they would always take the deal from the customer. Well, what do you want? That's never how you wanted to start it. And so what ended up happening was this culture split happened. And when that culture split happened, it really confused, it's still today, I think, confuses a lot of people. Because if you asked a dealer today, what's your sales culture? I don't think they could tell you.
I believe you on that. Yep.
Real quick, Larry, we got Derek Bumper, who's an incredible trainer, incredible car guy himself out there. But he says you got to be trained on that, though. Too often people are scared to train the replacement, which is car sales.
Bingo.
Culture, right? People have been so scared.
I don't want somebody to take my job. It's truth, though. That is truth. Instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to be so excellent at my job that if they come get it, they must be amazing. And that's the thing. So I love that, Derek. It's great input right there. Appreciate that.
Yeah, but well, I mean, that was a part of the culture. I remember Clint McGee would say, hey, if you want to move up, you got to train up. You've got to be, if you want to be the next step for you as a sales manager or floor manager or F&I manager, whatever that is, you've got to make sure your replacement's trained. There's got to be somebody coming in behind you.
I agree.
If you are the sales manager and you want to jump up to the general sales manager, or you want to jump up to the GM, or you want to move into finance director position, there's got to be somebody who can do your job. So you got to train up to move up. But that was a part of the culture. That's what we were told. I don't think today, I would be shocked if I walked into a dealership today. There's probably a few. There's got to be some. But I'd be shocked if you found one that would tell you, here's your career path. Yeah. Within my store.
Yeah,
I'm sure
not many. There's and I actually know a couple, but I'm talking a couple, and I know hundreds of dealers, and there's a couple that have have a clear process on how to grow.
Yeah, this is your career path. This is how this works. But you got to train up to move up. And and that's a part of your culture. You got to address that right up front. You may be the best sales manager in the world, but if nobody can come behind you and do your job, where are you going from here? You're done. You are where you are, and you're not moving anywhere else. Or you're doing what happens today, the sales manager bingo, right? To where we just basically let this guy go. And it's funny when you think about it. This just hit me. This happens in college football all the time, right? The head coach can't move the program any further than they are. And their only option is to get a new head coach.
Right.
You see it happen in professional football. It's a new head coach because there's nobody underneath him. He can't move the GM. That coach can't move the program any further. All the people below him don't, but they believe that they don't want to lose their job. So they're not going to tell you how well they coach the line. They're not going to tell you how well they coach the defensive backs. And this cult, you created it. That's what you got to realize. You as a dealer created it, and you are the only one that can fix it.
Facts.
Awesome.
I think one piece beyond that is creating a sales culture from the bottom up. At the top is saying, hey, this is going to be a fun, engaging environment. We're all making money. We're all on the same page. As an entry-level sales guy, I want to live in that environment. So I want to have fun and everybody to be swinging in the same direction. So there's layers to this.
Yes, sir.
100%.
I think the culture can be the bottom up. Everybody's enjoying being there every day and having fun. Maybe I want to stay in sales.
Yeah, and that's where we are today. We've still got this lingering culture of this is your own little business within your own little business. It is your, and that's where you hear salespeople say, I got to take care of my customers.
Yep.
And for a long time now, if you're a salesperson out there, I hate to tell you this, I don't mean to be the guy that busts your bubble, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you in any way. They haven't been your customers ever.
Ooh.
They've always been the dealership's customers. He's
Okay.
the guy paying for it to get the customer to come in the door. He's paying the rent. He's paying for the floor plan. He's giving you something to sell, a place to sell it. He's helping you get people in to sell it. They're his customers or her customers for that dealership. They are the dealership's customers. They are not yours and have really never really been.
That's
Even
right.
when we thought it was our own little business within our own little business. Back then, they were probably most of our customers. We didn't do advertising at Broadcraft Chevrolet in Baytown, Texas.
That's
We didn't do it. We didn't do advertising. I got customers by going. Literally, I would take brochures to the local barbershops, hair salons, and pass out donuts and brochures and my card. That's how I got my customers.
Wow.
At that time, it was probably as close to my business within that business as it had ever been. But I still wasn't paying rent.
No overhead. You didn't have to.
No.
You didn't have to buy the cars.
Right.
You didn't have to have lenders that you signed up with.
No.
You just didn't have.
I wasn't on the hook for the insurance. I didn't. So at the end of the day, I was still not my customers. I was doing something outside of the ordinary to get more business, which is good. But
Exactly.
ultimately, at the end of the day, none of those customers belong to me. They belong to the store.
Well,
But Larry, speak to format. That's the one growth hacking salesperson can do. That's what makes them sort of their customers.
Yeah, that's towards the relationship building part, and I agree with that. So for those of you on the call, I hope there are not many of you, but we find out every time we say this, there are too many of you that don't know what these acronyms are. But format is basically family, occupation, recreation, motivation, animals, and teams. These are the 6 things you can talk to a customer about to gain rapport with them, to get on their level, because people buy from people they like. They don't buy from they buy from people they like, know, and trust. That's never going to change. I don't think that, not in our lifetime, probably not ever. We've seen digital retail. I've seen digital retail literally start and stop 3 times now. The first time it happened was back in the late 80s, early 90s with the Ford collection, where Ford was going to run all these stores. They lost $460 million proving they can't run a store. I'm going to credit that to Jim Ziegler. That's his line, and he's right. But 100%. Shout out to Ziggy.
Alpha dog. Yeah.
Alpha dog.
There's so many of us that have seen so much of the dealership cultures throughout the time. And to your point of, they never really were the salesperson's customer. They were the dealership's customer. And where I would kick back on that is, in some cases, yes, sometimes it is the salesperson's customer. But what tends to be true and what is across the board is that regardless of who paid to get that customer, who paid all of the overhead to make sure that they were serviced and taken care of, who's paying the check of the business within a business salesperson that's personally there, maybe the dealership. But in the end, most salespeople leave with a book of business. They end up leaving the store with a bunch of clients that have done business with them, and they were the only face of the dealership that they recall, that they build a relationship with, and they took them with them. A real issue amongst dealerships is that they recognize they can't keep their customers if they can't keep their people. If they don't keep their people in place and building and digging roots within the culture of the store, establishing their business as the big dealership as their overhead, then those customers run on down the road to wherever Joe goes. I'm sure that you've left, Larry, and gone to another store, gone to another location, and all of a sudden everybody's finding you where to get that experience from you. It's been the same with Fred. It's been the same with Lou. And to Derek Bumper's point out here, social media can help with that. Example, if he's back inside of a dealership, he will make sure that people do come and see him. The name on the door is completely irrelevant. It's all on who they know that's calling them. And so many times the customer that's a committed Ford customer will quickly become a Nissan or a Hyundai person, depending on what their car guy is telling them is the best for them today. And because of that, it is cultural. That has been the car business. All of my people are going to meet me at the dealership up the road because I'm only going to be here for a year. So I need to go ahead and call all of them up. The problem is most customers can't find their salesperson anymore.
Then you split. Then now you're back to splitting again, right?
Right.
You've got a CRM, whether it's PSX in your store, whether it's another CRM in your store. Everything's there. You're working it there. That's owned by the store. When you leave, it doesn't go with you, and it shouldn't.
Right.
Unless of course you want to pay for part of that CRM.
Right.
I don't think you do. So it doesn't go with you, and you're not cultivating that to go with you. And you realistically, the reason I left Ron Kraft Chevrolet. And I left Ron Kraft Chevrolet in 1987 and 88. Yeah.
I was giving away some of that age now.
I know. Reason I left Ron Kraft is I wanted my career to move up. And in order to do that, I wanted to move into F. Yep. And I convinced a gentleman, a very great dealer, still one of my friends today, actually lives literally across the street from me right now, Carol Smith of Timbers Chevrolet in Baytown, Texas, or in Pasadena, Texas at the time. I convinced him that if I would come to work and I would work for 3 months in sales and I would do these things, and if I did those things, then he would let me pay for my own Carl Singer finance school and move into finance. And that I did. And to his credit, he didn't let me pay. He actually paid for the finance.
That's awesome.
Singer finance school. And I got into finance, and that's how I moved my career up. But in order to do that, I had to leave Ron Kraft Chevrolet. I couldn't stay there and do it because I was told this, and I guarantee you there's a salesperson on this show right now who's heard this. You're too valuable on the floor. You're selling too many units.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We both have heard that, Lou, haven't we?
Yeah. And okay, you're right. And granted, I get it. What I would have, if knowing what I know today, I would have probably tried to grab somebody else and train them up so I could move up. But that's a hard thing for a salesperson to do, to take that initiative and find a person on the floor to do that. But that's realistically what you'd like to see what happened. And as a dealer, if you see a salesperson do, that's a quality guy. You do everything in your power to hold on to that guy. Yeah. Whatever it takes, you do that.
I agree.
But that's what I would have done. Instead, what I did do was switch dealerships, and that causes problems for every dealership. And today, I'd be absolutely floored if more than 1% of the customers who came into a dealership, any dealership, power sports or otherwise, cars, doesn't matter, came into a dealership and knew knew that person and had bought multiple vehicles from that person. They might have bought multiple vehicles from the store, but they haven't bought multiple vehicles from that person. Unfortunately, in our industry, the professional salesperson seems to be dying, which is a culture we've got to change.
Correct. Yes, and that. Inside of that, it's been culture. We would raise up 1 to 2 superstars that would recognize what's in their hands, what they have the potential to do, and they would stay firm and hold it down. Those are the people that aren't going and taking ups anymore. Those are the people that generally aren't really eating too much of the chicken that's getting ripped off of the bones inside of the sales meeting, because most of you're screwing up doesn't apply to them, because they're running a business like a business, and they've recognized that personal development and keeping your customers close to you, staying active with them, constant communication is critical to keep building the business. But it is a cultural thing. In our belief, we think that because there isn't cultures of personal development for all levels of the dealership personnel, is why we don't have a succession plan type of culture that says, let us constantly be developing ourselves to constantly be developing somebody else. If it's not a part of the culture, it will never be something that people get motivated about. To Derek's point earlier, people will be scared to develop somebody. People will be scared to share their information. People will be scared for the next person coming in, only because they don't recognize that everybody's investing in getting better and that we all should be doing the same thing. But a personal development culture is something that is hard to develop. There are a few people that do it. When I think of who comes to mind in helping a personal development culture, I think of that's right, certified solutionaries. We can help with that.
There's no doubt that and we talked about it in the last show, the sales meeting show, how to have a sales meeting. And I think, Lou, you just hit on it. We have sales meetings today tell us all about the stuff we did poorly.
Right.
And that's not going to be a good sales meeting. Follow the sales meeting in PSX. Follow the sales meeting in a box. Do not talk about what you did wrong. That's a one-on-one coaching moment, not a coaching moment in general. But at the end of the day, there's still the attitude of the head coach. I don't think anybody in the car industry can hide their emotions the way some people do in business. I think I look at most of us in the car industry as head coach, like Nick Saban. Yeah, when you screw up on the field, I'm going to be pretty pissed off about it. There's going to probably be a headset come off. It's probably going to happen. And I'm probably going to grab you on your way back to the sideline, and we're going to have a discussion. And it won't be a two-way discussion either. It will be a one-way discussion, me to you. But at the end, it will be on national live TV. I know all these things you're not going to care for, but that's what's going to happen. But it is in the vein of making you better, making you elite.
Yes.
Because if you're on the PSX team, if you're on my dealership team, you're either excellent or you're elite or you're not here.
Oof, love it.
And I get it. There are people that are going to that don't want to be in that deal. That's okay. Yeah, and at some point you're either going to get. I'm either working you towards getting excellent, and I can see the coaching moving that way. But if you're not, then I gotta move on. And you need to go find something you want to be excellent at.
Yeah.
I've told my kids over the years, if you don't like what you're doing, you're not going to be excellent at it. You're not even going to try to work to get there. You're just fulfilling a day-to-day job. And you don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. I think the culture is split now to where we've got salespeople who are still in the old vein, very few. They're in the old vein of this business is my business, but that culture and that thought process is also in the mind of sales managers. And so we end up with these dealerships where we're literally leaving it to the salespeople. But we just hired this guy last week. We didn't really give him a whole lot of training, if at all. You probably got trained. You probably may not even today got trained as well as I did. I didn't get trained at all. I was handed a set. There were 8 Go tapes, cassette tapes. Okay, again, dating myself. Anyway, 8 cassette tapes that Clint McGee gave me. This is how I got trained. I would listen to them in the morning getting dressed. I'd listen to them on my way to work. I'd listen to them when I got into work while I was doing my follow-up. I would listen to these things over and over again all the time. That's how I got trained. That is not a good training program. I got to be honest with you, and it's not one for today at all. But it did get me at least a foundation for selling vehicles, right? And so you've got to give your people the foundation. And now the culture is, okay, now we've got a sales process. And I think this is a very good thing. But it's got to be your process. And here we go. And now you get into what's in the really bad part, the sales manager bingo. Because we've all heard this. Here's a new flavor of the month. Mm-hmm. Right? We've all heard it. Yeah. This is a new sales manager who's got a new way of doing things. I got to go figure it out that way. He's going to beat me into conformity into my way. And I'm going to have to deal with that. Realistically, Mr. Dealer, if you are a dealer listening to this show, please make the process yours. I guarantee you do not go to Apple and change the process. You go to Apple and you get to work within the process Apple has. And if you can improve our process, that's great. We want to talk about it. And we'll eventually get into a point where we can incorporate your ideas to improve our process. But make no mistake about it. It is.
That's right.
And it has to, as a dealer, this has to be your process, not someone else's process. You want to get a sales culture, a process of sales culture, it's got to be yours. It can't keep changing with every new sales manager, every new GM, every new GSM who flies in the door. That can't happen. When you hire a new GSM, you hire a new GM, you hire a new sales manager. Hey, this is our sales process. This is how things work here. What I need you to do is make this work. And if you have ways to improve this, that's great. If you then okay, that's okay too, but you keep this process going. But what you don't do is come change my entire process to fit what you think works. That's we can always talk about it. We can always talk about making improvements. Matter of fact, we should never not talk about making improvements. But it's improvements to my process, not completely changing my process to what you think you need to be, or I'm not hiring you to be the process. We saw this happen in the CRM world in the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. You buy the CRM and you thought that was the process. Let me get me some of that CRM. That's going to be my sales process. No, that didn't work out for a long time. So realistically, you have to have the process. And that CRM needs to fit your process.
Yep. I agree.
And if it doesn't fit the process, don't buy it.
Amen. Yep. Amen to that. It's not here's the thing about process. It's fundamental. That's all it is. Just be fundamental, but be very clear and precise and hold people accountable. That's what culture is. When somebody walks into a workplace, Lou and I were both prior military. So for us, it's really simple. There was processes for us. We were told what we needed to do, to even include how we fold our t-shirts and how we made our beds. It was like, hey, it's this way or the highway.
For you, there's no choice.
That was culture, though. We became uniform. We all knew what was right, what was wrong. We all can help each other fix things. We could see it down the line. Our beds were dressed right. You would look down and make sure that thing was dead on straight. Yeah. Everything was perfect, right? But it took a team to do. You couldn't do it by yourself. Right. It's the same thing here. It's like we have a team, but we also have great software out there to help amplify it, not change it, like to your point, to amplify what we're doing. It's to help assist, be able to really take time and bend time a little bit. Something that used to take us 3 hours now can take us an hour and a half. Now I have an extra hour and a half to be more productive. That's what it's for. Not to, hey, I used to do it this way. Now we're going to do it this way. No, it still works. You still can sell cars that way, but let's do it more efficiently. That's it.
That one of my favorite videos. If you guys have never seen it, it's a commencement address at the University of Texas by an admiral.
Oh yeah, make your bed every morning.
Make your bed, yes. And and when you think about when I think about my kid, my middle son, who told me one time, Dad, I'm tired of being up here and doing this stuff. I was doing all this stuff in high school. And son, you don't realize what that is. That is to get you into understanding how to do things when your parents aren't around. You're away at school. You're learning basic training. When you make that bed and you make it right, you're learning to be excellent. The whole precision and perfection of that bed is teaching you excellence. It's got a purpose. Yes, I know it doesn't sound like it at first, but when you really start to think about it, it's got a purpose.
It does.
That's awesome.
It's a notch you can knock off first thing in the day. Something simple and easy to get confidence going, knowing, hey, look, I've already started the day off good. And I'm going to tell you, I make my bed every day. And I love the way it feels to get back to my house, even my hotel room, to make my bed, because I love the way it feels to get back and see a made bed.
Yeah, Marriott loves you.
They still come in and they redo it their way. My point is that I feel like it's a win for me. I leave there and I'm like, I'm already won today. All I got to do is just keep adding on to it. And I'm just going to keep it feels great. It doesn't matter what happens. I'm always got that knocked out before I show up to the dealership, before I show up to my breakfast, whatever I'm going to, I got a W.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll tell you, if you're interviewing with us at PSX and you're from the military, you've already got a 50% better chance.
Me too.
Actually, at most businesses, car dealers, all should be aiming at military personnel. We are strong advocates, obviously, for our veteran community, but they understand process. And this is why I think that many military people walk away from the car business back into a process-driven lifestyle when they walk into a dealership that doesn't have process and has chaos running amok. It doesn't have to be perfect. Vince Lombardi said perfection is not attainable, but if we can chase perfection, we can catch excellence.
That's right.
We can catch excellence if we chase perfection. That means that the process is going to be adjusted and turned from here to there as we deal with the many different snowflakes of customers that we deal with. But we have to have a defined process. If we don't, well, we're falling victim to the one that we actually have, which is the lack of one, which is the one that just can.
Well, I think we talked about it last week, right? There is a process, whether you believe it or not, in your store. There's just like 30 of them.
Right.
Right? There's one for each. Yeah, hope is not a strategy, no doubt. Good book, by the way.
Appreciate that, Jeff. With that, so Jeff, help us understand a little bit more on, from your vantage point, what it is that you see as some of the biggest challenges to implementing a new culture with the store. Because so many times the sales meeting and training can sometimes feel like punishment, right? We're only going to train the people who didn't hit their mark. Or here, we're going to train on this now because we all keep screwing up on that. And now it's not necessarily part of the culture. It's part of the punishment. What have you seen concerning that, Jeff?
It's funny you asked that, Larry, and I see this a little differently. We roll new implementations out of our system. It's really set up, if you talk to an owner and a GM, it's a very carrot or stick kind of a thing. Every owner wants these things, and that's the stick, right? But I think when we try to roll it out and train it, I was going to say this earlier, in 2024, I think that we have to be very empathetic about the culture that we're training to, and we have to have a lot of the explanation of the whys. Here's what's in it for you at this level. So you think about the technology that we can now embrace at the stores, it's amazing. But if they don't understand the when of hitting the green TO button to get an easy TO to a manager without having to awkwardly walk away or make it a topic, they don't understand. If we don't teach them the why for them and what the big win is, it all breaks down.
That's
so
right.
I think I'm a big fan of and supporting and using it as a tool to help them get better instead of the fear deterrent of, oh my gosh, they're micromanaging me and I'm just going to get beat up over this information. Train people up, not necessarily out. Eventually they might go out. The hope is that you can really embrace 2024 and the millennials, that everybody wanted it to be easier. And technology should be able to help with that. And we created amazing platforms that allow you to do that. But if they don't understand the why in the wins, it all breaks down from what I see.
100%. And I'm the world's worst at that, right? I come from that old school culture. We use sticks. The carrot was never, I don't remember ever getting a carrot. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to think back to the carrot and I'm not feeling it. I don't think I ever got the carrot. I got the stick plenty of times, but the carrot was never there for me. And I think there's a lot of people that have proven that the carrot works well with the right coaching culture. And the carrot's not always really the soft kumbaya thing, and it's not always bam, 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 beating you over the head. There's a place in the middle where, yes, and I'm the guys of my age will struggle with it more than guys of you guys' age. We'll struggle with it more because we got the stick, man. That was it. And when we learned by the stick, we live by the rod. Mm-hmm. But we'll struggle with it more than most. And that is, this culture of coaching, but you can feel it even when somebody, for example, I'm a big college football fan, as you guys know, I see Kirby Smart or Nick Saban yelling at a kid. It's out of caring. It's not, yes. They 100% care for those. You can feel that. If you are getting that level of basically stag and you don't feel the caring, then that's a problem. Have a conversation. But they wouldn't get that upset if they didn't care.
Boom.
They wouldn't. Mm-hmm. There's just, because you just get replaced. You just move the next guy in.
And that's, since we're talking about football, I live in Kansas City, 2024, 2 years in a row Super Bowl, and I watched Kelsey go up and yell at Reed last year, and he just let it roll off like a duck of water, and they seem happy together. So definitely different ways to get there.
Yes, for sure.
And there's different ways of training. There's different techniques of training. We are so thankful that we get to call ourselves thoroughbred car guys coming from this equestrian state of Kentucky, where there are some real thoroughbred car guys. And when considering the training that goes into a thoroughbred, there literally is the stick, the carrot, the whip, all of these things. And the one thing about recognizing that whip is used in the early stages of development, that everybody gets a little bit to know when to move faster, when to kick it up a notch, when to really chase the person in front of you. And then eventually the impact of that whip turns into just a little brush. You don't really need to hit. It just needs to be even pivoted. The lean you don't have to be bridled and yanked like you would have to be in the beginning parts of your initial teaching. You just have to feel the lean. And as time goes on, then it becomes habit. The problem that we often have inside of our training culture is we don't train things to habit. We train for the immediate need, come to an agreement on what needs to be done, and just so many things in the car business that end up happening. We find something that works, and then we stop doing it.
That's the way it goes.
Solid analogy. I like that with the horse. Smart.
Yeah. I think I told you guys this before. I used to participate in Jim Ziegler's sales managers meetings every month.
Yep.
And without question, without fail, he would always bring something up and somebody would say, we used to do that. And his exact, almost instant, well, did it used to work? Well, yeah. Why did you stop doing it? It was like clockwork, man. You could count on it every one of those meetings. I love the Alpha Dog. I missed doing those meetings with him. He was, he truly is an icon of this industry. And I don't mean to plug Jim so much, but so many things we're talking about. So many things we're talking about. We've been talking about them for years.
It's fundamental sales, and it applies to so much, but it never changes. How we do things, maybe how we communicate changes, but why we communicate and how often we should does not. The way that we talk to customers, the way we treat customers, the same. It's just that how do they want it and how can they talk? So we just got to be able to communicate. Having tools, it's great. I love technology. I do. I embrace technology. I have to because it's not going anywhere. But I don't make it the only thing. It's not going to do my job. It's just going to help me do my job. And I understand that, hey, I have something that can, if I have a tool in front of me that could save me a 3-hour job, bring it down to an hour. Yes, it's no different than getting a hammer instead of a freaking rock. Hey, I'm going to use the hammer instead. Way more efficient, way quicker, way easier, way better.
Yeah, so I think the way we've looked at technology is the technology, you can now buy some of that CRM and get a process.
Yeah.
We're down to these two cultures, right? We're down to this culture of process and this culture of your own little business. You run it the way you want. I think we are at the tipping point where as a dealership, you're now going to have to decide. You can no longer let the sales force just do it the way they wanted to. You can no longer allow this business within your own little business. This is my business. I'm the guy guaranteed to be, or the only guy guaranteed to be around, or has a better guarantee of being around 5 to 6 years from now. I have to have my own process. My customers that I'm paying for, my dealership that I'm paying for, everything I've got on the line has to run by my process. I can no longer hire you and leave it up to you. It's time to roll out of that. And I think a lot of us are trying to roll out of it, but it's hard because our managers came up that way. We came up that way. It's so hard to roll out of that thought process. But at the end of the day, if I ask a dealer today, what do you want? I get the same thing. I want to know every opportunity that I've got in real time. I want to know what happened, and I want to know what you plan to do next to get it down the road so that I can help down the road to the sale, down the road to getting them to come into the dealership so that we can help you close that deal.
Yep.
And I can't help you close that deal if I don't know these things. And today we can know these things better than ever. But we as a dealer body, it's time that you start realizing that, and I've said this many times, I know you want everybody to buy in, but I have a philosophy on that. You get to buy in when you buy in. So you want to peel off some of your money and buy into my store, then you get to buy in. Yeah. Until that time, you buy into what I ask you to do. And now, granted, you can't just say what I used to say when your salespeople ask you why, you can't just say because I said so. That's why. You can't really do that. You got to give them the backstory. You got to give them the reasons. They've got to see the wins. They're going to get into it when they see the wins. But at the end of the day, whether they're seeing the wins, whether they're seeing the reasoning behind the process, whether they are or they aren't, it's irrelevant. It's my process. We're going to do it my way, period. And it's got to be that way. Ben Stock said it recently. He said, I get to run my store the way I want to run my store. I get it. I think we all are struggling right now with the new kind of salesperson who does question why, who does not do things because they don't either one, don't understand it, two, don't want to do it, or three, don't have the aptitude to do it. If it's three, you just need to move that person out. If it's one or two, you need to try to raise them up and make them understand it. But Brian, hey, I can't remember the post, but I saw it on LinkedIn where I get to run my store the way I'm going to ask you to do something. And then, but whether you want to do it or not, I'm going to tell you, I need you to do this. And then you as a salesperson, when you're given that directive, I need you to do this, you need to go at it with 100%. Whether I agree with it or I don't, I'm going to make it work.
And that is the piece of culture that does need to be seared together, where the leaders are recognizing the why of the person sitting in front of them, the why of the person that they're trying to lead, and they tether that together to the why that the dealership has to do what they want. Now, we're all about asking the why, and we understand that the generations have come before and really caught the stick if they ever did ask the why. And the answer was, because it's my store. Come here outside. Let me show you the name on the building, right?
Yeah.
And all that did was get everybody super motivated to listen, right? No, it didn't. It didn't get anybody motivated to listen, and nobody ever received what was actually being taught to them, because they never recognized how it was actually benefiting them in where they wanted to go. And I thank God for a new generation that's in here and asking the why, because so many of our seasoned vets say, I don't know why we do it like that.
I don't mean to cut you off, Lou, but remember when Matt would hand us his business card? He goes, hey, go grab one of those cards. He goes, what's it say underneath my name?
Yeah.
Now go get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. I got the same thing. I had Charlie Thomas on many occasions saying, whose name's on that sign out there?
So much. I always laughed at it. I still do. I think it's funny because I come from that school. That's all you had to tell me. I get that. I understand. Yeah. I'm here. I have a job. I'm fortunate to have a good job. I'm going to do what you asked me to do because I'm sure there's a reason, but you don't have time to tell me right now. Got you, boss. And that's okay. But at the end, it's like one of those things you'll find out when you're older. Like just like being a parent, now you see why your parents were the way they were. So it's the same thing, but a lot of times today they want to know the why, and I'm not mad at them for that. I'll be honest with you. I think that it's good that they want to know that, because I think that if I would have known more whys during that time, I probably would have been more take ownership of things. I would have probably tried a little bit harder for stuff because I would have realized there was more purpose besides because I told you to.
Fortunately, the people we're hiring today just don't have that. When Charlie told me whose name's on the sign, I said, yes, sir, I'm going to go get it done. And I put 100% effort in what he wanted me to do. Period. But it was never even a thought that I wasn't going to put 100% effort into it. Whether it was my idea or his idea, it didn't matter. Right. Fact of the matter is, this is my directive. This is what I'm going to go get done. That's my objective. That's the military training. I never went into the military. I was too big of a smart ass to do it. After Top Gun, they told me I wouldn't be able to fly one of those jets for about 15 years. And that was way too long for me. That never, my military training never materialized for that. But I always had that culture of, I'm going to go to work because my mom put it into me. My dad put it into me. If you're going to go to work for somebody, go to work for them 100%.
Yeah.
Love it.
So no matter what, at the end of the day, you go give 100% to what you're trying to do, whether you agree with it or you don't, you give 100%.
Amen. So with that, and in the military mindset, those of you that are watching on the live, those of you that are watching on the replay, those of you that are listening to the podcast, write this tip down, because you want to be able to run your culture and your business to the T. Tether together training, tactics, and technology. If you can tether these things together inside of your culture, inside of your business, and make sure that you supply the why, then everything is moving in sequence just like a military unit, because they do secure and tether together all of their training, which is regimented and consistent and has to be. Their technology, they have to understand their technology and tying that with how we tactically use each and every bit of this is how they achieve successful missions. If you can pull these things together and make it part of your training regimen for your dealership, and you're constantly developing them, you will take your business to the next level. We assure you of that. I hope you wrote that down. Tether those together, everybody, because if you want to have a culture that succeeds, that wins on a consistent basis, there has to be changes that make sense to everybody that achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve, regardless of the generations. Because to Fred's
I love that, Luke. The 3 T's.
Yep.
Training, tactics, and technology.
That's right.
Love it.
Get them together. And if you need some help on the technology side of it, PSX Digital is definitely down to help you assign the technology that gets you the results that you're looking for. Ain't that right, Jeff?
I was going to add to that. Really, I remember the quote from David Kane years ago. What CRM should I buy? And he'd say, doesn't matter, whichever one you're going to use. I think about what we do, though, and part of what makes it so special is you got a 40-year veteran's brain that has built something around current technology. And so much of what helps us help dealers is the word tracks around it and the why. Here's why you say these things when you walk up to a customer. Here's the transitional thought and the process. It's not just the technology. It's the processes around how we train people to use the technology and the wins for them. So 100% agree.
Amen. Amen. The bonus T would definitely be tracking. You need to know numbers. Okay, track it all together.
The bonus T. I like that, man.
Here goes.
We're going to call that the T-bone.
That's right. That's like good meat. Plenty of meat on that bone, baby. That's right.
Yeah, we're going to call that the T-bone. Not to be confused with the guy I used to play football with. His name T-bone. That was a totally different story, a different guy. You didn't want to meet him. But T-bone, I love that.
There we go.
He was in a car accident.
Fred, you got any last words before we get ready to wrap up this show?
No, man, I'm glad that we had Jeff here. Hope we get to have you on the show some more often, Jeff. Obviously, we're in a room full of 4 of us who love what we do. I love that the people who are watching the show understand what we're talking about. Derek, thanks for coming out here, making some comments, brother. We love what you're doing out there in the market. Keep changing the world, my friend. And for all you all out there who are making a difference, keep growing. Understand the dealership culture is massive. And if you don't have the right culture, it's just going to crumble. You may sell a few cars, but you're not going to sell as many as you can. And you're not going to ever achieve excellence. So make sure that you get the processes right, all the right people in there. People, product. People, process, then product. Get it right.
Get it right.
And then try to have some fun every day. That's what it's all worth anyway.
Mandatory fun.
You understand that's like number 7 in our map that we say to everybody we train, you have to have mandatory fun every single day or it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you won't like it. You won't do it. There's nothing. I mean, the final words that I remember from Clint McGee were: if you're not having fun, if you can't have fun doing what you're doing, you're not going to be that person. Go get a job driving a dynamite truck. Nobody wants to talk to that guy. Nobody wants to be around that guy. You won't have to worry about it.
That's right. Facts.
Some people, like the dynamite guy working them by themselves, are having a blast.
Yeah, maybe.
You're silly, Lou. Are having a blast.
Wow, this is corny joke day here.
Oh yeah.
The DealerCast.
Hey, the DealerCast 2.0 to check your newest dad jokes. Let's go.
That's a free one, folks. We appreciate your time today, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Jeff Luce and Larry Bruce hosting it over here with Fred and Lou on this wonderful beginning of April Fools. Wow. Man, folks, it's been an incredible show already. Make sure that you go back, listen, watch, share around, comment, and ask some questions on some of the other episodes that we've had. But we're so thankful that you've taken this time with us. We only got one thing left to really do, and that's drop those F-bombs that don't offend the moms, everybody, and make sure to forgive, focus, and fly so that we can keep growing. If you don't have the culture, forgive, focus, fly, and look for the culture that actually takes you to the next level so that you can keep growing. Let's do it, everybody, on 3. 1, 2. Jeff, hands on the shoulders. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Forgive. Focus,
fly, and keep growing. Keep growing, everyone.
We appreciate you all, honor you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Lou Ramirez, the car guy.
And I'm Fred Lenartz, subprime hero.
And you've been brewing solutions on this DealerCast 2.0 with the incredible duo of Larry Bruce and
Jeff Luce. Let's go, baby.